Hey friends, welcome back to Guess What? Compliance can be simple. I'm your host, Dr. Natasha Guess, founder of Guess Compliance Consultant LLC, where I work with small and mid-sized healthcare practices to build compliance systems that actually function in real operational environments, not just on paper. Now, we are starting a whole new series called Compliance in the Workflow because that is exactly where compliance lives. Not in a binder, not in a legal meeting. In the daily decisions your team makes before anyone is watching and after everyone has gone home. Now, over the course of this series, we will be covering the most common operational compliance pitfalls that I see in healthcare teams. And we'll talk about how to respond when something goes wrong and what it actually looks like to build compliance into the way your organization works. Now, we are starting today with the foundation because before we can talk about what goes wrong, we need to agree on what compliance actually is. Here is what I want you to hear first. Today is not about identifying weaknesses. It is about strengthening your structure. And I do want to start with a question. Think about it. Sit with it for a while before you come up with an answer. When you hear the word compliance, what comes to mind? For most people, it is lawyers, it is regulations, but compliance is something that lives. For most people, they think lawyers. For some, it's regulations. For others, it is something that lives in a department on a different floor or gets handed off to outside counsel when something goes wrong. That is a common framing. And it is one of the reasons so many healthcare organizations find themselves exposed during an investigation. Because compliance does not live in the legal department. It lives in the workflow. It shows up when a client record is opened to verify onboarding information. It shows up when an attachment containing protected data is sent to the wrong recipient. It shows up when a vendor is added to your system without a signed agreement. And when systems access is granted to one of your team members who no longer needs it. These are not legal moments. They are operational moments. And they happen dozens of times a day in every healthcare organization, regardless of its size. And HIPAA is not a legal abstraction. It is embedded in daily workflows. Now, I do want to walk you through the 3 HIPAA rules that shape how that daily workflow should function. The first is the privacy rule. This defines when and how protected health information can be used or disclosed. So anytime someone opens a chart, discusses a patient, prints a record, emails an attachment, or shares information with a vendor, or even respond to a request for records, that is the privacy policy or the privacy rule in play. The second is the security rule. It requires that organizations implement safeguards to protect electronic protected health information. And this consists of administrative safeguards, physical safeguards, and technical safeguards. The third is the breach notification rule. It requires organizations to report and document when PHI is compromised. Now, this rule presumes a breach unless the organization can demonstrate a low probability that that information was at risk. Now let's move to what regulators actually look for. And this is the part that surprises many people. Regulators rarely expect perfection, and I've said this time and time again. What they do expect is evidence of your oversight. If an incident occurs and an organization can demonstrate that access was role-based, that their training was documented, that logs were reviewed, that your risk assessments were conducted, and corrective action was tracked, that organization demonstrates maturity. And maturity is what regulators are looking for. Now, the difference between two organizations facing the same incident is not the incident. It is the structure that surrounds it. And compliance is not about having the right policies on paper. It is about building the right patterns into your daily operations so that when something does go wrong, the evidence of oversight is already there. The gap between policies on paper and patterns in practice is where regulatory exposure lives. I want you to think about that. Do you have your administrative safeguards in place? Do you have your technical safeguards in place? Do you have your physical safeguards in place? And are you conducting a risk assessment annually? If not, those are the areas you need to work on. In the next episode, we are going to get specific. We will be covering the 5 most operational pitfalls that I see in healthcare support environments, and exactly how each one creates compliance exposure. I am Dr. Natasha Guess. Thank you for listening to Guess What? Compliance Can Be Simple. As always, keep it simple, stay compliant, and protect your patients.